Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a bit of a paradox, really. It's this widespread fear about something that, well, the data shows is actually surprisingly safe. I'm talking about hunting, and specifically the liability concerns that often stop landowners, from leasing out perfectly good vacant land.
It really is a fascinating disconnect, isn't it? When hunting comes up, public perception seems heavily skewed by the rare but maybe severe incident. People often mix up how bad something could be with how likely it is to happen. A really serious but rare accident might make headlines, but you don't hear constantly about all the twisted ankles from weekend basketball.
Exactly, and that's the crux of it. Landowners often operate under this, let's call it false impression. It's driven by the sort of psychological weight of firearms, making them overestimate the real risk.
Right.
So our mission today is to cut through that perception, look at the hard comparative data, and then explore what really brings peace of mind: safety rules and the right insurance.
Right. The core argument here, based on a lot of comparative data we looked at, is that hunting is statistically, well, quite a bit safer than many activities people do every weekend without batting an eye. Let's dive right into that comparative data, because this is where the common perception really starts to unravel.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's compare it to things people do all the time, things that don't need special permits or loads of training, like everyday hobbies.
Exactly. Think about team sports, basketball, for instance. The injury rate there is somewhere between 6 to maybe 14 injuries for every 1,000 player hours. Soccer's pretty variable, but you're looking at maybe 4 to 35 injuries per 1,000 hours. Even baseball, which feels slower paced, right? It still clocks in around 0.057 injuries per 100 player hours.
Wow, okay. Just comparing those numbers to how people feel about halting risk, it's already, and yeah, it's out of sync.
Right.
What about something like cycling? The casual rider on a path seems totally harmless.
Cycling actually ranks surprisingly high. We're talking about 163 injuries per 100,000 people. The risk of getting hurt in these common activities is very real, very measurable. It puts things in stark perspective when you look at hunting data. Some reports we saw mention the injury rate is so low, certain AI tools won't even give you a percentage when asked. The risk is just too diffuse.
That's really telling. But let me play devil's advocate for a moment. Okay, so football or cycling might mean broken bones, maybe a concussion. Hunting involves firearms, ballistic risk. How do the reports handle the potential severity of a rare gun accident versus, say, a common surfing wipeout?
That's a fair point. Severity obviously matters. But the data strongly suggests that because of mandatory education, safety protocols, which we'll get into these weapon-related incidents, are actually historically very low, and they're still declining. The injuries that do happen in hunting, they rarely involve the firearm itself.
And to really hammer home how low the risk is comparatively, the analysis you looked at identifies the top 5